Good morning. I have 9 a.m. I'd like to call to order the King County Finance and Budget Committee meeting of Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. We have roll call, please.
Ford. Leonard.
Here.
Leonard here.
Ford here.
Thanks, Mr. Ford. Martin.
Martin here.
Sanchez. Surges.
Here.
Tepe.
Tepe here.
Shepro.
Shepro here.
Berman.
Berman here.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from May 26th?
So move Surges.
Surges moves.
Leonard
Tepe
seconds.
Tepe seconds. Any changes, corrections? Any additions? We have roll call, please.
Ford.
Yes.
Leonard.
Leonard, yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Surges.
Surges, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm not knowledgeable of any public comments. Do we have any online? Don't see any. Moving on to item number 4, Mr. Kilborn, our Treasurer's report.
Good morning. The report is with the packet you have there. I do have some additional information in reference to the funds that we did receive for the American Recovery Plan. I met last week with Madam Chair and the finance director just to discuss some short-term investing of those funds, trying to get a window of when they might be used. We have put out to have half of that, about 25 million of it, invested outside of First American Bank. We made directions last week, and we actually had 3 of our banks come back and said they cannot take the funds. They can't take any more money. But we are looking to invest that in 6-month T-bills and some other discount notes to get that working out a little stronger than in First American Bank we have right now. And that is it.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kilburn, I have a question for you. With the American Recovery Plan money, you said you're putting 25 million outside and keeping 25 million. What is the rate of return or the yield that we're going to be getting on both of those $25 million segments?
Right now, under First American Bank, it's 0.3, very little. And we hope to get out of the 6-month T-bills 0.45, some discount notes 0.45. But obviously the market is not there to be making the money at this time. We are more concerned about safety and liquidity than return, but we are looking for a greater return to also match with our safety and liquidity, knowing that there is a window as to when those funds need to be spent. We can't put them out too far.
Mr. Tepe?
Yes, Mr. Kilburn, are you looking for some banks to potentially place the money with?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last end of it.
Would you like some suggestions for some banks to properly place some of the money with?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One other question too, Mr. Kilburn. I've noticed in the last 2 months on your reports that the weighted average investment yield has been omitted or not included. I know it was for like the last 10, 12 years before that. I was wondering if you could add that back in, because that truly gives us an indication of the return we're getting on the money, including premium and discounts.
Sure, we can look into that.
Would you put that in then for?
Yes, sir.
And maybe amend the last 2 months then?
Sure.
Thank you very much. That'd be great. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Yes.
I was just curious about the comment that the bank said they couldn't take any more money.
Sure. It's out there. There's a lot of money out there. Businesses are not spending right now. They're socking money away in banks. Wall Street Journal reported last week that banks are being hesitant even to take business money because they can't do anything with it either.
So they don't even want to pay the 0.3% if they can't find somebody to borrow it from them.
Correct. If they can't put it to work, it's no use to them. It's unusual times.
Yes.
Which I would imagine is why there are reasons to have those monies spent within the first 3 years. The government doesn't want them sitting in banks either.
Chairman Berman.
Yes, sir.
Mike, following up on Bill's request, could we get those corrected and emailed out to us rather than waiting all the way till the next finance meeting? Perfect.
I'll go through.
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Kilborn. Item 5, our Finance Director's report, Mr. Hansick.
Yes, good morning. Included in the agenda packet, as always, would be the budget performance reports, and this time they're for the month of May. I've included in my report, as I'm required to do, an explanation of the various variances that are occurring at this point in the year in comparison to the year-to-date budget. There are several items here. Many of them have to do with just the timing of when the expenses occurred compared to the year-to-date budgets are of no concern in that regard. And many others have to do with special revenue funds, which although they may be over budget year-to-date or over budget for the year, they do have sufficient funds to cover those overages. Okay. My report got out of order here. Okay, so to follow along in the report, I'm down to the third page of my report. To give you a quick update on the audit for 2020, and this is with regard to Baker Tilly's annual audit of our funds. The report on federal awards is now available, and I had emailed it out to you, and it's available on our website as well. This was formerly referred to as a single audit report, and I'm very pleased to report that once again there are no findings. And this is significant in the sense that the Coronavirus Relief Fund was also included as one of the major federal awards that were audited by our auditors. So according to what had been expensed in fiscal year 2020, their review of those expenditures and the record keeping found nothing to report in terms of a problem. The county cannabis tax update, really, it's unchanged. There's nothing new regarding that. The tax goes into effect July 1st. So that's status quo there. The quarterly receivable report, we are looking at about a 2.9 million total in receivables from various state agencies. At their most, they're 4 months old, which is very good for state of Illinois receivables. The significant ones are 1.5 million in reimbursements from the Illinois Department of Transportation and about 0.9 million in probation salary reimbursements. Probably the best news this morning in my report is that year to date, we are $4.1 million ahead of budget in terms of revenue collections from the states, and that would include sales tax, local use tax, RTA sales tax, state income tax, personal property replacement tax. And this is a result of the economic recovery occurring much more quickly than we had anticipated when the budget was put together. So that's good news. We're also about $3.1 million ahead of where we were at last year at this time. Of course, this is when the impact of the pandemic on the economy was beginning to appear more significantly last year at this time. I also included again my graph, which indicates the comparison of sales last year as compared to this year. And then that dark portion at the top of the graph indicates where we fell short last year, or in terms of comparing the prior year to last year's sales. That's where we fell short and why the revenue had declined. And you can see most of the decline was in the April-May time frame of last year. And since we've been recovering, and now we're beyond where we had been at beginning in the month of November, and it's continued to progress through March. Health Insurance Fund, as of June 18th, we had collected about $963,000 more in contributions than we had in expenses. And the cash balance in the health insurance fund is almost $7 million. And we continue to recommend a target balance of $9 million. The Coronavirus Relief Fund, this is just a quick update on that. You'll notice within the agenda packet, there is a budget adjustment of about $19,000. It's a housekeeping item to move what had remained of unspent funds within the health department into the amount that's generally available to reimburse county expenses. And so that has already been factored into all of my reports for this year. This is the actual adjustment that will take care of that amount. And this will leave us with roughly $125,000 remaining for administrative expenses. And as we've been talking about, and as you know, we have received our first tranche of the American Rescue Fund plan of the almost $52 million. I had included in my report what I had calculated as of the writing of my report for lost revenue and some of the personnel expenses, and then the mass vaccination fund expenses. If you compare this to what I presented to you yesterday, you'll see that yesterday's slide is more comprehensive and includes more data. So this is already outdated. In terms of the special reserve fund, since there are various components, I've broken them out for you. So we have roughly $7.5 million remaining of our COVID payroll reimbursement savings. We still have the $125,000 that was set aside for the Judicial Center build out. And we have the $320,000 that was placed in the reserve to help cover the expenses of next year's biennial election. In our contingency balance, we have $867,000 remaining to be used for any unexpected, unbudgeted expenses for this year, with the $50,000 contingency for adult prisoner room and board. Capital funds were about 23% expended for building management, 44% expended for information technology, and about 53% expended for the multi-use facility. I'm sure there's several invoices that are coming through since that building is virtually completed that are not included in this calculation as of the end of May. Something I wanted to bring to your attention now is that we do have an opportunity to refinance the remaining balance of the 2013 series bonds with the current interest rate environment. This would enable us to save approximately $300,000 in interest. So it would be worth pursuing this. In order to start the process, I would need to present to you an ordinance at next month's Finance Committee meeting, which would begin the authorization process of reissuing the bonds. And if we were to start in September, we'd be able to reissue the bonds in September. I'm sorry, if we started in July, we'd be able to issue the bonds in September. And then just a brief summary from purchasing activity. There are about 4 bids and requests that were begun, or requests for proposals that were begun in the month of May. This is for building a COVID security upgrade, Judicial Center boiler plant rejuvenation project, the solar photovoltaic system site development and operation, and on-call sewer cleaning and televising services. There were a small amount of quote savings, bid savings for the month of May were about $13,000. So total savings for the month of May was $18,476,000. Did I say that correctly? $18,476. And fiscal year to date is $141,000 in savings. That concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Mr. Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Onsick, with respect to the bond refunding opportunity, it sounds like a great idea.
Yes.
And it looks like we can save some money. I just wanted to make sure the term of the new bond would coincide with the one that we would be expiring.
Yes, that's the intent, is for it to follow the same debt service term period as the existing.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Just a few items. Following up on bills, do you need any action from us to initiate that refinance, if you will?
That would
You
be,
just do that internally?
no, it does require board action, and there will be an ordinance presented to Finance Committee next month to start the process.
Okay, and that gives you enough time for September working backwards?
Yes, it requires board approval, so it's not like an option, so we have to follow that time frame no matter what.
Okay. Yesterday in the COW meeting, I had asked a couple of questions about how we were doing on the audits from the original monies. And I think you mentioned here, and I just want to stress again, that we have flown through those wonderfully without any hiccup.
Yes, but this is the audit I'm referring to in my report is the one conducted by Baker Tilly, which is the auditors
Internal.
Well, it's an external audit of our financial statements. It's not the same thing as a Department of Treasury audit, but it's a good indicator. It's because they
That's
looked
what
at
we
it.
have at
Right,
the time.
right.
Okay. And yesterday in reading the documents before the meeting, there was the word tranche being used, which is not a word that is normally used in my vocabulary. And I just want to make sure that tranche has no other meaning other than installment.
Well, that's my understanding of it, but I'm not an expert in
I read it and said,
interpreting it.
why wouldn't they just call it an install? We got our first installment, we got our first tranche. I was like, maybe it means something else and I should ask. And then finally, I just wanted to acknowledge to this committee that during the interim process at the Human Services Department, Joe was doing double duty for us for quite some time. And if nobody noticed that, that's because he did such a wonderful job, and the relationship between him and Jamie Labrillo couldn't have gone smoother. And I thank you for lending him to us. And Joe put out a cute email saying, is there any way I could please be kept informed on some of the emails flying back and forth? And at least from our perspective, we wouldn't have that any other way. And I just want to acknowledge that. So, Joe, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Second on that. Any other? Chairman. I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Martin.
Benefit of Mr. Surgeon. Tranche is a portion of a total, especially of a block of assets such as cash or security.
My Wikipedia said the same thing. It's so funny. I'm just making sure that there wasn't some other meaning that I was misconstruing. All we did was get our installment. It doesn't mean that they invested it for us and we have to wait for a timing issue. We already have it. It's in the bank.
It's a French word that means slice or portion.
Why do I bother?
It's kind of like Jeopardy.
Yes.
Sorry. Moly.
So you can have a tranche of pie
Yes, okay.
on issue.
Class starts at 10:30, right?
That's an astute group. Any other comments or questions of Joe? Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson.
I was reading it last night. I was just like.
Good morning. This is Kristen Jenkins. I'm the Deputy Auditor. Our report is on file. I just wanted to mention a couple things. So we're still working through our P-card audit for fiscal year 2020. And then we have started our search for our fall intern. And that's it.
Any questions for the auditor? Very good. Thank you very much. Moving on to new business. Item A, resolution approving fiscal year 21 budget adjustment for Kane County Sheriff's Deputy assignment to the Kane County Treasurer's Office. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Surges.
Surges moves.
Board seconds.
Board seconds. Discussion. Mr. Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just have one question about it. The appropriation amount is $103,000. And considering that we're in phase 5 now, I just wanted to get a better idea of why we want to spend $90 an hour on deputy sheriffs, basically to take temperature. If there is a public safety concern, I'd like to know what that is, because I don't know of one in the last 6, 7 years since I've been here, but if there is, I think it's a valid concern.
I think I can speak to that. Because there is no security coming into this building and it's an open building, staff has requested that we have some kind of security for people coming in, simply because it is one of these times where violence happens to public officials. So that's not only regarding the COVID, but it's also public safety for security. So that was one of the reasons why. So it's a double edge.
Okay. I respect the opinion. I may not agree with it 100%. No. However, I think we should look, if we're going to continue on with this type of service, at an outside contractor, which could lower the cost probably in half.
That'll be something that could be considered. I don't know if that would be allowed by our unions. I don't know.
$50,000 savings a year here and $50,000 a year savings there, it adds up.
Right.
As I recall, we had discussion on this some time ago. I can't.
Yes.
But nothing has changed. Put it that way. Well,
Sanchez.
Sanchez.
At the last judicial and public safety meeting, this was kind of discussed if it's the best route to use the sheriff's deputies for this. And I know Hayne had mentioned, he'd rather not if we had an alternative route. So I just didn't know, did we look into a private security company? Because it was mentioned at some point in judicial, and I forgot to follow up with Myrna on this. But
truthfully, I don't think anyone really decided whose authority was it, or who should be investigating it. I think that was our discussion. I don't recall now exactly. But.
And would there be any breach with union contracts? I'm just curious on that.
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
I couldn't say.
I mean, in terms of whether they could be taken off the assignment and.
Have a non-union.
No.
Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, Mr. Brown.
Brown here. Also, in what Mr. Sanchez mentioned at the judicial public safety meeting, this was discussed a little bit. I don't think that was any action taken to pursue it any further, but the opportunity was thrown out there that possibly there could be another officer added to the sheriff's department so that he no longer would have to have somebody here on the double time or overtime. He doesn't have the personnel to put somebody here on regular time, but if another person was added to his employment staff, then he could put somebody here on regular time and take care of that situation. But I think there needs to be some formal action taken to do that.
I agree with Mr. Brown, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to revisit this, look at our options, talk to the Sheriff's Department, make sure that we do have the public safety we need, but that we don't overspend on it. And I think at this point, paying time and a half to deputy sheriffs is overspending. So if we can come up with a reasonable alternative, I think we should consider that.
What committee is this?
Judicial and Public Safety.
Mm-hmm. I would agree to that. I would agree to that.
Mr. Berman, Bill, is the concern to have a live person here or to have upgrades to the building for security, like a swipe or something like? What I don't.
Because it's a public building, we have to allow the public free and easy access to come in here for many offices. So that's very important. I believe that it was proposed that there was going to be an addition to this building, which would provide for that security. And that was turned down because the board decided, that committee decided not to move forward with that concept because there may be thoughts of other changes that may be afoot in the near future. So this would be a stopgap to have a live person there.
Thank you.
Very good.
Just the last comment, Shepro. I mean, my personal observations coming in and out is what seems to have changed is what they do when people come in. I mean, more and more they and again, I'm not criticizing them because I think everybody's reacting to the reduction in the restrictions, but to the point that several people made, if the idea is that we have a armed law enforcement person here, if we need him, that's a different, but it seems to me that the need for somebody to sit there while some people actually get their temperature taken is sharply reduced in recent days.
Well, to everyone's point, I'm knocking on wood right now, that COVID seems to be being reduced, the incidences. So we are open to stage 5 right now, but the security issue still remains. And to me, that's right now has always been a paramount concern for this building. So if we can find another solution to have a security guard there, that would meet all of our needs right now.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Caius?
Oh, Caius.
I'm sorry. Isn't we to Mr. Leonard's suggestion, we haven't had any issues for security. I believe there was one recent incident where there was a security issue. Is that not correct?
Indeed, there was. At a closed session of the board, there was issues here with security.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to elaborate, but there was one, and that was
that cascaded into a number of other incidences as well.
So the security is COVID is not so much the issue now, but the security is the issue. And if I'm not mistaken, this resolution, the next resolution is to replace the overtime, as Mr. Brown was saying, with a full-time officer, which would cut it down to a more reasonable amount. It isn't as low as security guard, but that's the idea, is to trim it down as soon as possible. This is just till the end of the year, isn't it? Isn't that what I recall?
Well, this would be budgeted for this year.
It's for the fiscal year 21, yes.
Right.
July
So
to
this
December.
solves the issue of the overtime, the security, which is an issue in this building, and egress and entrance into it for unsavory characters or whatever. But that was my understanding. Unless I'm wrong, is that correct?
Mr. Chair,
Brown?
I believe this resolution, and I could be wrong as well, but I believe this resolution, as I remember it coming through Judicial Public Safety,
Right.
was for the overtime up through a certain date. There is no consideration yet on the table for a new officer to be hired or private security or anything like that. This is, I believe, the second or third resolution we've seen since I've been on the board where a certain amount of money has been appropriated for a certain time frame to have that deputy at the front door.
Ms. Martin?
No.
I think I'm being repetitive here, but this is a task for Judicial Public Safety, and they need to put together, that committee needs to put together a policy that, in fact, the board can look at and evaluate. You know, I've made my point over the years that this is a difficult building to even guess at how you would secure it, but I'm not on that committee. And we need direction. I mean, we're here to mind the purse strings, but the Judicial Public Safety Committee really needs to put something together that they can recommend to the board on how to deal with this, and we ought to quit talking about it.
Yeah, I concur with Mr. Martin. I would like to, if we could, table this resolution right now, send it back to Judicial and Public Safety for their review and their direction so that we can get something definitive. Believe me, I'm not trying to discount public safety. I just want to do it as efficiently as we can. So I will be voting. I would like to table this. I'd like to make a motion to table it and look for a second on that. Moving it back to Judicial and Public Safety.
All right, we have a motion to table with the roll call vote, please.
I think we need a
Second. We
too.
need a second.
I'm sorry, do we have a second? Ms. Martin, second?
Before, sir, you ask for the vote, I'm just looking at the funding issue. It says that this is supposed to start in July. I want to ensure that we are fully covered until that matter has been brought forward to Judicial and Public Safety and works its way back through to the full board for their approval. I don't want to leave this building without some kind of security coverage.
Could we use a caveat then that we will talk to the sheriff's department and this will be tabled and moved back to Judicial and Public Safety as long as he is willing to continue to do the service until we find some direction on which way we want to go on this?
Yes.
Perhaps reimburse them for that interim period.
Right.
Yeah. Sanchez here.
He's done that on other intergovernmental agreements with other municipalities such as Wayne and whatever. So I'd like to amend that table to include that consideration.
Thank you.
I'll concur in the amendment.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call.
Molina here. Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to ask a quick question. As the chairperson of Judicial and Public Safety, may I?
Sure, Molina.
Of course.
What was your question? I'm sorry.
Yes, I just want clarification from the board that that the Judicial and Public Safety Committee has the jurisdiction to put together the public safety plan for the governmental campus. And this isn't something that would go through public service or administration.
Public safety, JPS. It's JPS.
I would think that they have the authority to do that.
And the reason I'm asking for clarification is because the administration committee was working on safety updates to the building. So I want to make sure that what we're doing isn't duplicated with what the administration committee is doing.
No, I don't think it's a duplication. I think we're talking about apples and oranges there. Something different.
And then my second question is, will the sheriff then have the authority to hire a security guard under his budget, or is this something that needs to be done through a different department head? If the solution is a security guard and not hiring a deputy.
I would feel that we'd have to give them authority to do that.
Yeah, well.
So.
I don't
Leonard.
Yes, Ms. Molina, I believe that the sheriff would have authority and enough money in his budget to hire someone if we decide to go that route. We may want to hire a full-time person to do this and pay them just a regular rate, or we may want to look at an outside contractor. So I think in Judicial and Public Safety, we need to discuss this and come up with the direction on what we want to look at with the approval of the sheriff, that he will continue to do this until we get a final direction on it.
Right, and I think this is what we've discussed in committee. I think the sheriff wanted to make sure that he had the authority to hire either a security guard or if we needed to hire a deputy. So as long as we have clear understanding as to what the board wants, I think Mr. Leonard and Mr. Brown and Mr. Sanchez, who all sit on the Judicial and Public Safety Committee as well, and myself would be able to handle this task. Thank you.
Thank you, Molina. Any other, we're at the point to vote on tabling this. Could we have roll call, please?
To table?
The table.
Ford?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Sanchez?
To clarify, it's the table and send back to committee to judicial.
Right, yes.
Okay. Yes.
Surges?
Yes.
Tepe?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay. Item B. Item B, it seems to me, was tabled at committee.
That's
and,
correct.
Shouldn't be on there.
It's tabled in administration.
Administration, right.
So,
Item C, a resolution authorizing an interpreter coordinated position and an interpreter coordinator assistant position for the 16th Judicial Circuit.
Leonard, so moves.
Surges, second.
Discussion? Yes.
Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to just briefly bring everybody up to speed as to the request. You have the resolution. Just to kind of give you a little bit of a background, the Illinois Supreme Court through the AOIC mandates that the county provide interpreting services for our jurisdiction and throughout the state. The Hispanic population in Kane County is about 32.4%, and it's the majority of our interpretation needs, although we have many other languages that we're responsible for as well. The circuit, which is Kane County, has 27 courtrooms in 6 different locations that we need to provide this service for. And we also cover orders of protection, diagnostic center, and eviction court calls. So it's a very important service that we provide. In the past, we have tried to contract it out. What we're looking to do is bring it in-house, and we've been doing that for about the last 6 months very successfully. Just surrounding counties, we wanted to make sure that when we came before you, we weren't looking to do something that other counties are not. Winnebago has 2 full-time interpreters plus contract interpreters. DuPage County has 3 full-time interpreters. We're looking for 2 full-time. It would be 1 coordinator and 1 assistant. Again, always cognizant of the money situation that the county has. And I want to bring out and let you know what we've been doing to address that. The AOIC has a reimbursement program based upon the quality of the interpreter that you use. If you use the highest quality, which is a certified interpreter, you can seek and receive 100% reimbursement for that interpreting services. If you use a registered interpreter, that's less, and you can receive between 65 to 85% reimbursement for that. In the past, with Governor Rauner's budgets, which weren't always in place, the reimbursement wasn't always dependable. And so our reimbursements were lower in the past. In 2019, we received $43,997 in reimbursement. In 2020, we made a commitment to try to make sure that we were doing everything that we could do to make sure we had them in on a timely manner and that they were coming in. Last year, we received $353,000 in reimbursement money, and this year we're at $185,000 halfway through. So we believe that when you look at the reimbursement and what we've been doing to receive those reimbursements, when you see that the state has been complying and getting us the money back, we believe that we will be able to pay for this, not directly, but that the money coming back into the county will exceed the $180,000 that we're asking for these 2 positions. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Questions?
I have one. How many interpreters are there now?
Well, right now what we do is we contract out. We have 1 person that we've hired full-time, but we're using money that we would normally use for bailiffs for that position. And what we do is contract with certified and registered interpreters throughout. And so what this would allow us to do is to have 2 full-time interpreters that would allow us to use them in courtroom, but also to coordinate everybody else that's coming in.
Mr. Berman?
Yes.
You know what? I wish that everybody came to us with everyone that came with a problem came with the solution with it. And Chief Judge, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Can the state grant exceed our expenditure?
Can it exceed our expenditures? Yeah, no.
Right.
Depends which tranche you're taking it out.
Yeah, did you just, we had another use of the word tranche.
Good.
We don't have, the court does not have profit centers for interpretation. Bilingual classes, perhaps.
All right, we have a motion and a second, do we not? Can we have roll call, please?
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clint. Item C, or item D, resolution, Plato Radio Tower Communication Link. Do we have a motion to approve?
Tepe moves.
Tepe moves.
Sanchez.
Ford seconds.
Ford second, all right. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item E, resolution authorizing the budget adjustment for COVID-19 contact tracing services. Do we have a motion?
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Ford seconds.
Leonard second. Discussion?
Sanchez.
Yes.
This is actually just us accepting more money from the state to cover our needs for financial needs for the contact tracing that we do, that we have to continue doing. It's always a feel-good resolution when we're taking money.
Very good. We need more. Hearing no other discussion, roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
And item F, a resolution authorizing creation of electric aggregation civic contribution fund, Fund 421. A motion to approve.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Surges second.
Surges second. Discussion? Any comments? Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
And item G, a resolution authorizing creation of Church Molitor SSA Fund 5313 and 45 West 185 Plank Road SSA Fund 5314. The motion to approve.
Martin moves.
Martin moves.
Ford seconds.
100 second. Discussion?
Who's, I'm sorry, Surges here.
Surges?
Whose district is this in?
I think it's, I think it's in.
Is that Kopi?
No,
Is that? Okay.
the other one is,
Jody, no.
If you're asking, well. Ms.
I'm
Wallach is
sorry,
here. She can
Monica
explain it.
Silva's is the one district, and I believe Kopi is the other.
Okay. And they're both in favor?
That's correct. The 45W 185 Plank Road resolves a stormwater violation to pay fee in lieu in detention and get that property in compliance. And the Church Molitor is to resolve a drainage problem.
Perfect. Thank you, Jody.
any other questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Surges, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
And item H, a resolution authorizing the fiscal year 21 budget and adjustment for mass vaccination fund.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Leonard,
100
seconds.
seconds. Discussion.
Sanchez here.
Bill?
This, Mr. Onzig mentioned
Mr.
this
Onzig?
yesterday. This is, yeah, you want to present it?
Sure. If you might remember, when we first established this fund, we moved $500,000 of COVID savings into this fund to establish an initial budget for it. But now that enough time has gone by where we have a better idea what the expenditures are, it involves public safety, it involves building management, public health. All of those departments put together a budget, which this now represents. And what I'm proposing that we do is return the $500,000 of COVID savings back to that special reserve and then draw from the American Rescue Plan Fund the $1.8 million to fund this, since this is a very specific allowable use of those funds.
All right.
Just a clarification, this meets the March deadline. What is it, March 3rd?
Yes.
Very good.
Very good. Everybody understands. Any other questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item I, a resolution authorizing reallocation of unused CARES Act funding in fiscal year 21 budget adjustment. Do we have a motion?
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Surges second.
Surges seconds. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Surges, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
And item J, a resolution authorization to enter into grant agreements. Do we have a motion?
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves.
Ford seconds.
Who was that? Sanchez. Discussion? Any questions, discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
And Resolution K, authorizing KCAC to increase the rabies tag fees.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Martin seconds.
Martin second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
And item L, a resolution authorizing contract for psychiatric services for the Juvenile Justice Center.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, could I back up 1 second?
Yes.
On this last one with the tag fees,
Yes.
I'm still confused whether, do the municipalities have their own tag? I don't know if there's anybody here going to speak to this, but do we override the municipalities on this? Or do the municipalities have their own and we're just picking up the unincorporated areas? It's just the unincorporated areas, right?
This is Brett here. May I speak?
You got the answer.
Brett's here from Animal Control. May I speak?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, please. I'm sorry.
Actually, these tags, we are responsible for ensuring countywide the rabies tag. This is per state law. So it is countywide, municipalities, unincorporated. These are tags everywhere across Kane County. That is 98% of our funding is through these tags, which is why we had to look to do the budget adjustment for next year.
Thank you so much. That's what I thought, but I get confused easily.
Oh, very good. We need clarification.
Yep.
Thank you
No,
very much.
thank you.
We're on item L. And we have a motion and a second on item L.
Leonard moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez seconds. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to point out that Mr. Davis, who's the head of the Juvenile Justice, has worked on securing psychiatric services for the Juvenile Justice Center for a number of years now. He has lowered the cost, improved the service, and this is a 3-year contract with an option for 2 more years. So I strongly support it and thank Mr. Davis for all his work in saving the county money and improving the service to the juveniles.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh. And item M, a resolution authorizing a contract for Mill Creek SSA ADA sidewalk improvement project. Martin moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Thank you.
And item N, a resolution approving purchase of tactical vests for the Kane County Sheriff's Office SWAT team.
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves.
Burgess, second.
Surges second. Discussion.
Can we get a vest?
Pardon?
Maybe a used one.
Maybe that's cheap.
Up for sale.
Maybe that's better than having a guard at the front gate, huh?
Surges, would you like that job?
All right. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item O, a resolution authorizing a contract for Kane County Jail East Drive Rehab Project.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez
Ford
moves.
seconds.
Ford second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
And item P, a resolution authorizing carpet replacement project for Kane Branch Court Circuit Clerk Facility.
Martin moves.
Martin moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez second. Discussion. Understand it couldn't be clean, so.
I just have a comparison comment. I'm still surprised and grateful for the low cost for providing psychiatric services to our youth. And if you note, here's carpeting for $139,000, but we're changing a child's life for $40,000.
Many children's lives.
I mean, many children, unbelievable. I would think that that price should be flipped. I'm just making a comment to commend, was it Family Services? Who's providing, yeah, an amazing, he should be complimented and thanked.
Comment, please, Bates.
Yes, Ms. Bates.
Does that mean the carpet is too expensive?
Sorry, can't hear you.
Does that mean the carpet is too expensive?
Too expensive?
Yes.
No.
Does what mean?
Well, if we can get psychiatric help for $40,000 and carpets for $137,000, have we looked into the price of the carpets carefully?
They have looked at the price of the carpets differently. I was just noting a comparison.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item Q, resolution authorizing the Kane County Judicial Center Boiler Plant Rehab Project.
Ford moves.
Ford moves.
Surge's second.
There's a second discussion. Mr. Martin.
I have a question of Mr. Allen. This rehab, is this just necessitated by age, or is this the age-old problem of the water that we're using out there?
I think it would be fair to say a little bit of both.
Do we have I mean, we've had unending expenditures with St. Charles Water related problems. Do we have a filtering system out there now that?
No, we do not. We have water softening, but this new project will contain filtering.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other question, any discussion? Be done before winter?
November is substantial completion, so right on time.
Roll call, please. Thank you.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
And item R, a resolution approving a contract with CAMVAC Incorporated of Sandwich, Illinois for on-call sewer jetting and televising services for the cost share drainage program. Do we have a motion?
Ford moves.
Leonard moves.
Ford seconds.
Ford seconds. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
And item S, a resolution adopting identity protection policy to the personnel policy handbook. Do we have a
Surge's
motion?
moves.
Who would move?
Surge's
Surge's
move.
moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Sanchez second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
And item T, a resolution approving personnel replacement hiring of the Kane County Division of Transportation for an administrative officer. Replacement. Motion.
Sanchez moves.
Sanchez moves.
Surge's second.
Sturgis second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
And item U, a resolution approving personnel replacement hiring for the Kane County Division of Transportation. Replace the traffic operations engineer.
Martin moves.
Martin moves.
Surge's second.
Sturgis second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Surges, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
And item V, a resolution approving May 2021 claims paid.
Leonard moves.
Leonard moves.
Martin seconds.
Martin second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Surges,
Surges, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Old business, I have none.
If I may, I just have a comment or a question for Mr. Onzek. As we had tracked the COVID funding with the separate budget lines, budget numbers, are we going to be doing the same thing for the ARP funds? So we can look at projects and what we expended on each one of the particular projects that we may be working on?
Yes, although it's not been developed yet, that'll be developed along with whatever the plan will be for spending, but there will be separate accounting for it.
Very good. Yeah, that's what I was hoping. Thank you.
Okay.
Are we not required to do that? I think.
Mr. Berman, question?
Yes, Mr. Surges.
I've asked this question before, and I'm just trying, and John, maybe you can help me out. We always have these replacement personnel that come through a committee process. But if it's already budgeted and we're just replacing an employee that may have moved on with the new employee for that, what is the reason to bring it through an entire process to do? And maybe there's a great reason, and I'm just unaware.
Yes.
I think the reason is that there is a ancient, never repealed hiring freeze that I believe dates back to Mike McCoy. And although there are exceptions, the board, I think somebody somewhere thought the board needs to recognize that exception. So you will see resolutions that will say, identify this person is a replacement for an existing person.
And the reason I bring this up is sometimes in the job market, there's an expediency to bring on somebody, or you may lose them to someplace else. And if this is just silliness, formality, that stands in the way sometimes, then I would be in favor of getting rid of this. On the other hand, if there's not a problem, don't fix it. You know what I mean? And
May I respond to that?
Martin?
I think it's a healthy exercise for the board to talk about policy or to talk about new employees in whatever context. And ancient though the obligation is, I think it's, I just repeating myself, I think it's healthy to do that. I think, you know, I've not heard anybody complain as a department head that they can't get employees because they have to wait for board.
and that's what I'm saying. If it's not a problem, don't fix it. But at the board level, when you say we should discuss them, we've never had a discussion. I mean, we just rubber stamp this and moving on. And I'm just.
And I remember this one.
Level, it's appropriate.
I remember this.
And that's it.
Right. So
this discussion specifically from the Transportation Committee, and there was a detailed presentation made, and that committee unanimously supported it. So the fact then that we don't have anything to talk about, I don't find to be less scrutiny. The committee that was charged with the responsibility has looked at it, evaluated it, and sent it on with a unanimous recommendation. So I find the procedure to be appropriate.
Fair enough.
Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, just to follow up, maybe there is a way to remind especially new board members, like, why are we doing this? I mean, somebody could just really a one paragraph explanation is that the county has had a hiring freeze and this is the process that should be followed.
that's sufficient for me, sir.
Yeah.
I just didn't
So
understand
that's it,
why we delay and go through this, because it's not a new position. It's already budgeted. We're not adding to, we're just simply replacing somebody that may have left.
What we're doing is sort of redundant then.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Brown here.
Brown.
As a new board member, I've wondered, and I've asked myself that same question that Mr. Surges just brought up, but I've never asked it out publicly. So I appreciate him asking the question, and I appreciate the answer. And I now understand it, and I agree with it. So thank you.
You know, it turns out to be more of a matter of information than it is anything else. So, you know, it's, now we're all aware that we're replacing somebody in this department, so. Joe?
Yes, I just wanted to add another thought. Over the years, since I've been here since 2013, there's been various board members who have advocated for reducing personnel and through attrition. And so they saw each time there was an opening as an opportunity to evaluate whether we really do need to replace that position or not. So this was an opportunity for the board to take a look at that and perhaps, you know, reconsider replacing that position.
Yeah, we could turn it down, right?
Usual, I like Joe's answer better than John's. But, you know.
The definition of tranche again?
A piece of.
Quick, Sanchez
Yes,
here.
Sanchez.
The moratorium on hiring is actually referenced in here, resolution 17-202. That's what I do remember. I don't remember the Mike McCoy area, but I recall being here for that moratorium and the discussion on the attrition issue. So yeah.
What's the ordinance number?
17-202.
That would suggest that it was.
1917?
If it originated under McCoy, it would suggest that it was repassed.
That's possible.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
You not only don't remember it, you were born.
I feel confident it was not in
They're all yours,
1917.
Um,
Then I'd remember.
As I'm being reminded, I'm responsible for all of you. I will take a look at 17-202 and send it all to you so you can refresh and take a look at it for all of our new board members to find its history and any amendments that may have happened.
Very good.
Motion to place reports on file.
Do we have a second?
Leonard
Leonard
seconds.
seconds. Sturgis moves. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ford,
Yes.
Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
Sanchez,
Yes.
Sturgis,
Burgess, yes.
Tepe.
Yes.
Thank you.
To the best of my knowledge, we have no reason to go to executive session.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. A second?
Oh, just a person.
Sanchez seconds.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Let's not all hurry.
Thank you, everybody.